Welcome, everybody.
Hey, hey. Good boy, Tucker.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun.
Good morning to some, good afternoon to others. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of our Best Practice Partner Spotlights. Today, we've invited FMeX to come and talk about their platform and how it can help advisors save both time and money. I'm your host, Austin Johnson, trainer and subject matter expert here at Redtail Technology. Before we jump to the presentation today, just wanted to cover a couple of logistical items. First off, the session is going to be recorded. So if you miss any of the action today or want to go back and play this again, or maybe share it with a colleague, you can find it by visiting the Redtail Help Desk or visiting the Redtail YouTube channel. I also wanted to direct your attention to the QA section for this meeting. If you have any questions as we are going through our presentation today, you can go ahead and enter those into the QA section. You can also enter them into the chat. Just know that the QA will be prioritized over the chat. So if you want your answer to your question quickly, be sure to throw it in the QA. We'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation. With that said, I'd like to introduce Stephen. Stephen joins us from FMeX. Stephen, good afternoon.
Austin, how are you?
Doing awesome. Hey, I wanted to start off by just getting to know a little bit more about you. So can you please tell us about your journey into this industry and how you got started with FMeX?
Sure. I've actually been in financial services. I'm one of the old guys. I've been here for north of 30 years. Started my career at Fidelity Investments and have been mostly involved in marketing at the broker-dealer and asset manager level. More recently, prior to helping launch FMeX 5 years ago, chief marketing officer for a number of really large firms here in the Midwest.
Awesome. And for those who might be joining us who aren't quite familiar with FMeX, can you tell us a little bit about what FMeX is and how it saves advisors both time or money?
Sure. So we started FMeX 5 years ago, really with a couple of things in mind. First, my partners and I, we've all been in the financial services space. We've all served financial advisors, and one thing that we noticed as there was a movement from advisors to, from wirehouses and even the regional broker dealers to setting up their own shops as RIAs, there really was a need for content marketing. And further, there was a need for sales technology that allows advisors to focus on what they're best at, and that's with their relationships with their clients. So we built a content marketing platform built on our own sales technology, and it was in an effort to help serve advisors. And the one thing that is very important to us is the center of everything we do is the financial advisor. It's not the wrap product, it's not the mutual fund, it's not the UIT or the REIT, it is the advisor. And so everything that we do is really to perpetuate the brand of that advisor. And to answer the second part of your question, Austin, we help advisors save money in two ways. One, we help them retain clients, and advisors know that client retention is probably 1, 2, and 3 on their to-do list. And then we help them attract new clients. And at the end of the day, if we have been successful in serving both of those, then advisors will save money in the long run.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you've definitely captured our attention. Those are two goals of, I think, every financial advisory firm. So can you give us a little bit more about best practices on how we might use financial media exchange?
Sure. So we have, we serve thousands of advisors, and more importantly, we serve their, hundreds of thousands of their end clients. And we have a lot of intelligence that speaks to, how advisors are marketing, what's working and what's not working. But I think most importantly, we have a lot of data that indicates what end clients are paying attention to. And so we have tailored all of our content to really sort of maximize those opportunities for advisors and eliminate content that isn't being used. And as a good example, lots of advisors, and I'd say lots of people in our industry tend to gravitate towards the need for videos, for example. And while we do have a collection of videos for use for advisors, the reality is they don't get opened and read or listened to as often as people might hope. But what does get open, what gets read, and what really supports a great content strategy is stuff that's topical. And that's what I hope to dive into a little bit today. And we have certainly seen a shift in the last 5 years as to how those best practices have evolved. And COVID, as no one I'm sure is surprised, has really dramatically changed the landscape. And we don't think that landscape's going back to the way things were. So we think there's even greater need for what it is that we can offer advisors. And today I'd really like to share, our research team has put together, sort of 5 really simple points that we think are intuitive, but are worth remembering. And I can support that with data that shows exactly how it works. So again, Austin, I really appreciate you allowing us, the opportunity to speak with some of your clients. And, as we talk about, in real simple terms, a little bit about FMeX. So we currently have the largest content library that's built exclusively for the financial planning industry on our own proprietary sales technology. We write a lot of our own content. We have an editorial team in-house, and we also have partnerships with Morningstar and Kiplinger's, Liberty Publishing, et cetera, that allows us to bring in relevant content. And so it's content written by financial experts specifically for financial advisors. And we publish new content every day. As I mentioned at the outset, at the core of what we do is focusing on the financial advisor and focusing on the financial advisor's brand. We want to help augment that brand, and we want to support it, which is why we've also made it very easy to share content by way of social properties, add things to websites and emails and blogs, et cetera. And we're very pleased that we've been a partner with Redtail for a number of years. And the reason why that's so important for us is because we made a decision when we launched FMeX. We thought everything starts and ends with your CRM. And in simple terms, if it's not recorded, it didn't happen. If you can't measure it, you can't get credit for it. And so, by way of, a great technology integration with Redtail, we're able to seamlessly integrate, and Austin will sort of show you some of that in a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about, our core belief here and some of the 5 essentials. And, we are convinced, and this is, I think, helpful to remember, that at the end of the day, people tend to confuse marketing and sales somewhat. They tend to sort of combine the two. Marketing absolutely has to exist to support sales. If it doesn't lead to sales, and sales could be client retention, by the way, then it really isn't marketing. And in the financial services space, that sometimes tends to get lost. But for us at FMeX, it's absolutely important. So, if you ask yourself the question, how you as an advisor can make an impression, it's not easy. We know it's not easy. And just by way of example, if you look at in just the social media world of Facebook and Twitter, in order for you to make a legitimate impression, you have to send out a lot of tweets and you have to post a lot of times to Facebook. And so if you just do the math on, 500 posts in a year and 1,500 tweets in a year, all of a sudden you ask yourself, how am I going to, you know, create that content that people want to, read, repost, reshare, etc. And that's what a lot of what at FMeX we build for you. And as you're thinking about the content library that we have, the engagement essential number one is it really is imperative that you as a financial advisor in your financial advisor practice focus on speaking directly to clients and their worries. As I mentioned at the outset, I've been in the industry for 30 plus years, and I can recall the time when, large broker dealers, large asset managers, they blindly sent out the same email to every single client. And over the last decade, that has certainly changed, but certainly it has changed more over the last year. And so that's why we created our articles library at FMeX. And we have over 5,000 articles. These are what we call, sort of evergreen content. It's, again, written specifically for financial advisors, organized into what we think are intuitive categories like education funding, asset allocation, college funding, et cetera. The database is fully searchable by keywords, and it really allows an advisor to answer questions that they might get from clients and prospects without having to go to Google, without having to write something, without having to draw from any of their asset management partner firms or even from home offices that they might rely on. Again, it's the largest library out there, and what we give you, we're not just simply giving you a PDF and then asking you to say, okay, forward this on as you see fit. We give content in a number of different ways. We do give a PDF. We also give a Word document because we recognize that a 1,500 word article on what is a rabbi trust, for example, an advisor might want to edit that document. So we make it very easy to edit. And the reality is what works in Des Moines, Iowa is very different than works in Los Angeles, very different than works in Boston. So we also give the Word document. We also give the HTML5, which makes it easy to post to blogs and websites. And we give a unique image. We have an in-house design team that creates a unique image that you can then use for some of your posting to social properties and your website as well. And essential number two is while you're answering questions from clients and prospects, at the end of the day, we know that they're looking towards financial advisors and they want to be educated. There's a very fine line, of course, as you an advisor know, between talking to someone and then talking with them and really sort of answering questions in a way that resonates very well with them. So as such, we have created also our newsletters category, and we have 18 different newsletters that again allow you to, if you remember that, speak directly to client interests. These are newsletters that are organized by client interests, and we encourage advisors not to segregate their book of business by assets under management, which again, 10 years ago, that was fairly typical, where you have your A, B, and C, but instead really segregate clients by interest. So that's why we have newsletters that speak to business owners, to women specifically, the millennial generation. We have one that also speaks to the LGBTQ plus community, financial owners, etc. And all of these newsletters, they are updated quarterly, with the exception of two. We also have a weekly market commentary that we publish on Saturday morning. and we also have a monthly market commentary. In addition, all of these newsletters are offered in Spanish, and that is important for certain segments of the population, not necessarily from a reading perspective, but then allowing those clients to share with their friends. And what that does, as you can see from this newsletter, is when the newsletters are and all of the content, it comes back to making sure that we're perpetuating the brand of the financial advisor, so that front and center, as you can see, that's my picture, that's my contact information, and in my social properties. And as that's getting forwarded throughout various emails and it's getting liked, et cetera, and shared, the brand of the advisor is always carried forward, so that it really sort of further perpetuates that. Before I get into the next couple of engagement essentials, I'd like to turn it back over to Austin so he can show you how you can access the content through Redtail's technology.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Yes, so here is how we actually engage Redtail in this entire process. And so I'm here under my name and the Manager Integrations menu here in Redtail. I just want to show you that in order to make this work, you have to have Financial Media Exchange integration turned on. So if it's not turned on, you're going to want to, again, visit your name, Manager Integrations to turn it on. Getting started is very easy. From any page in Redtail, you can navigate up to this integrations icon located here at the top and choose the option here for a Financial Media Exchange. From here, if you have an existing FMeX account, you can go ahead and sign into it using our single sign-on feature. Or if you're just getting started, you can also click this free trial button here at the top. This will give you 14 days of access, as well as a 10% discount off the retail price of your subscription by signing up through the integration menu. Once your integration has been, or excuse me, once you have set up for a free trial or signed up for an FMeX account, you'll be taken to their homepage here, where you can navigate up to your face here in the top right corner and choose the menu here for integrations. This is how we are going to set up the sync between FMeX and Redtail. And so by choosing integrations here, you'll find on your integrations page the Redtail integration. Mine happens to already be integrated, but if you were setting up your integration for the first time, you would just choose Redtail, and then FMeX is going to ask you a question. They're going to ask you, do you want to sync over specific tag groups or your entire contact base? And so with FMeX, we can actually get real targeted in how we target our audiences by using the tag group method in Redtail. So if you haven't used tag groups before, you can review how to do so on our Redtail help desk. But tag groups allow for us to group like clients together to be able to segment and to target them specifically. And so once your Redtail integration has been set up, you can go ahead and visit FMeX's large content library and explore different articles or videos that you'd like to share with your clients. And so for me, I'm going to share that market insight that Stephen just told us about. And I'm going to share that with my clients by clicking on this e-share button here. When I do that, it is going to allow me to be able to choose that tag group that I want to specifically target. So in this case, I'm going to send this to my contacts that work for Dunder Mifflin. I'll go ahead and choose them, and their addresses will be populated in. Just like Stephen mentioned, it does provide your own personal touch to that article. And I can even add in a personal message if I like for each of those persons. Okay. So the tag group gets pulled in, we add them as recipients, and we go ahead and send out that article. When that happens, in real time, a note is being created on each of those records back in Redtail, indicating that I sent them an article on this date and in this time. So as you can see here, our communication has been sent. And so now if I navigate back over into Redtail, I will be able to see the results of that. So here I will go ahead and open up one of the contacts here. I'm going to use Mr. Andy Bernard here. And it's going to, again, create a note letting us know that we shared this article with him today at this time. So we get kind of the best of both with this integration. We get our Redtail information pulled into FMeX. And then as we're taking actions and communicating with our clients using FMeX, we're actually creating notes back into Redtail. So both a pull and a push integration that we have with these two. All right, Stephen, I'm going to pass it back to you, and you can tell us a little bit more about those engagement essentials.
Thank you, Austin. So essential number 3, and this really speaks to what we have found since we had launched FMeX 5 years ago, is really where advisors tend to gravitate most, and more importantly, where their clients tend to. So if you remember, we have our articles library. That's the largest library, 5,000 plus articles, but they're very much evergreen articles that speak to issues like dollar cost averaging, estate planning 101, caring for aging parents, etc. That's category number 1. Category number 2 is our 18 newsletter section, updated quarterly with the exception of our weekly and monthly commentary. And our third category, which you saw when Austin pulled up the screen, that's our editorial highlights. And that's our essentially what is our homepage. So at FMeX, we have an editorial board. And we meet every Monday morning when the stock market opens, and we just ask ourselves the question, what's in that 72-hour news cycle that a financial advisor might get asked a question from a client or prospect, or might want to get in front of a particular topic. So as you can imagine, what we have been posting recently has a lot to do with changes that are happening in Washington. We also talked about the shutdown of the Colonial Pipeline, the Bill and Melinda Gates divorce, etc. And these are the articles that are topical to what's happening today, and then they are intentionally tethered to financial planning, wealth management, insurance, estate planning, etc. And these are the articles that people actually care about. And to give you a real quick example, we have lots of data points to support this. The number 1 by far article that is the most read, the most shared, the most opened, is one that answers the question, what's better for the stock market if the AFC or the NFC wins the Super Bowl? So as you can imagine, that's been a perennial article for us. But it really is those articles that are talking about current events and then bringing it back to the value that financial advisors provide. Which brings me to essential number 4. And that's the importance of being quick to market. And, for example, we are very keen on making sure that we post content quickly. So on average, our editorial highlights, for example, we're posting 10 articles a week. It might, move a little bit beyond that when things are really happening in the market. But we don't stand on ceremony. When something happens, we're writing about it. We're posting usually within a couple of hours. And while I mentioned, we start writing our weekly market commentary, which is very often used. We start writing it as soon as the markets close on Friday evening. And in a former life, when I was a CMO for a large broker dealer, it used to drive me crazy, and this still exists today, that monthly or quarterly market commentary was typically sent out 3 to 4 weeks after the period ended. And by then, it really, really is old news, which is why it's important for us to post our weekly on Saturday morning, and then our monthly and quarterly commentary we post within 24 hours after the period ends. And if you don't believe me, look at some statistics on really what's called content decay. And just in the Facebook and Twitter world, if people don't engage with your content quickly, then it's going to get ignored. It's going to be either they're going to be overwhelmed with too much information, and yours is going to fall to the bottom of the pack, and then just going to move on. So that's why we strongly encourage advisors once to build their own content cadence, but do it as quickly as they possibly can. And then the last essential, and I really wanted to change some of the words. You can probably figure out which word I was going to substitute, but our compliance department said it probably wasn't a good idea. And that really is, be yourself, be authentic, tell them who you are. And as Austin was showing you, when you set up your account, it really is simple. And if you want to have your picture, you want to have your logo, you want to have your social properties attached, you want to have your phone number you can put in bios, because again, at the end of the day, and you guys know this, you are the product. It's not, again, the mutual fund. It's not the closed-end fund. It is the relationship that you have with your clients. So then the last question, maybe before we open it up to questions, is, okay, how much does all of this cost? And again, you get with FMeX, you get our 5,000 plus articles in our articles library, our 18 plus newsletter library, our editorial highlights. In addition, we have literally thousands of memes, infographics, videos. All of this is tied into the existing Redtail CRM, and the total cost is less than the annual cost of the Wall Street Journal. And if any of you on the phone still subscribe to the Journal, you know that they do have some great articles, but all you can do is read those articles. You can't actually do anything with them. You can't send them to your clients unless they happen to also have that. Maybe you can copy and paste things, but then you've got to worry about some copyright infringement. And for those of you who remember, the Wall Street Journal is $399 a year, and ours is less than that. So as Austin was mentioning, how you access FMeX is, if you go to our website, which is FMEXdirect.com, we do have a promo code Redtail, which is all caps. We're so convinced that you'll love the content that we are offering you that we'd love to give you a free trial. All we need is a first name, a last name, and an email. We don't ask for a credit card up front, and we would love to tell you more about the content that we have, the engagement essentials that we offer, and answer any questions that you folks might have. So with that, Austin and everyone on the phone, really appreciate you allowing FMeX to showcase what we built. We really, as you can't tell, we love what we do. We're a collection of writers. We've been in the industry for a long time. And if you happen to see content that you'd like us to add, it's really a matter of sending us an email, and we will create content and post it up to the system the next day.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.